Good evening. This is me, walking and talking Ruta, but I'm not walking and talking today because I am recording my first ever podcast for you. So, today I will be talking about dating apps, and the topic is called Have dating apps changed what we expect from relationships? I want to ask you something. Have you ever opened a dating app, spent an hour swiping, matched with a few people, had some conversations, and then closed the app feeling more empty than you started? Because I have. I used to think it was just me. But the more I talk with people, friends, strangers, people online, the more I realize that so many of us are feeling the exact same thing, connected to everyone and generally close to no one. So today I want to dig into something I've been thinking about for a while now, something that I think affects almost everyone who is dating in this era. Have dating apps made it easier to find love? Or have they quietly changed what we expect from it altogether? This is my very first episode, and honestly, I'm a little nervous, but this topic felt too important not to talk about. So grab a coffee, tea, glass of wine, get comfortable, and let's get into it. The world we are dating in. Let's start by just acknowledging how wild modern dating actually is. Think about it. 30 years ago, you met people through friends, at work, at the pub, maybe through family. Your dating pool was basically whoever happened to be in your orbit. Now you can be sitting on your sofa in your pajamas, matching with someone 50 miles away who you would never in a million years have crossed paths with otherwise. That's generally remarkable. And I don't want to be cynical about that because there is a real beauty in it. People have found their partners on these apps. Couples have got married. Families have been built, and that's real. But here's what I keep coming back to it. If we now have access to more potential partners than any generation in human history, why do so many of us still feel like we can't find the right person? More choice, more connections, more conversations, and yet more loneliness. Yes, more loneliness. That contradiction is what I want to explore today, because I don't think it is a coincidence. I think the apps themselves, the way they are designed, the habits they create may be quietly reshaping the way we think about people, about connection, about what we deserve, and about what we are willing to settle for. And the first place I want to start is with the swipe, the magic swipe. And what does it do to us? Let's talk about swiping, the one tiny gesture that has become the foundation of modern dating. Left, right, left, right. We are making snap judgments about actual human beings in less than a second. One photo, a two-line bio, maybe a height, a job title, a favorite TV show, and based on that tiny sliver of information, we decide yes or no, worth my life or time or not. Now, I'm not saying attraction isn't real. It is, but I want us to think about what we are actually doing when we swipe left on someone. We are not just passing a profile, we're making decisions about the whole person actually. Their humor, their warmth, their depth. Based on what? Nothing. And the thing is that we've been trained to do this. The app's reward is speed. They encourage volume. The more you swipe, the more you engage, and the more algorithm actually works in your favor. But here's what that does to your brain over a time. You start to develop what I call next mentality. There is always another profile, always another face, and always someone just one swipe away who might be better. And that one thought is incredibly disruptive because it means you never fully commit to the person in front of you. You're always half present or half wondering or always keeping an eye on the other door. Psychologists actually have a name for this. It's called the paradox of choice. The idea that the more options you have, the harder it becomes to make a decision and the less satisfied you feel with the one you do make. Barry Schwartz wrote a whole book about it, and honestly, it explains a lot about this modern dating. When the pond is infinite, nothing ever feels quite like enough. Then dating feels like online shopping. I want to be honest with you for a second because I think this is something a lot of us do but really admit. I have absolutely sat there scrolling through profiles like Amonesos or Amazon at midnight, comparing, filtering, dismissing. This person's photos aren't great, but their bio's funny. This one seems nice, but a bit boring. Or, oh, this one is gorgeous, but wait, they like that? Never mind. And what's scary is how normal it feels in the moment because the apps are literally designed to look like shopping. Infinite scroll, filters for height, distance, age, lifestyle. You can even favorite people like you are adding them on a wish list. But people are not products, and the more we treat them like they are, the worse it gets, and actually it's difficult to connect with them. Because here's what a profile cannot show you. It can't show you how someone laughs when something generally catches them off guard. It can't show you the way they treat a waiter on a bad day. It can't show you the way the face goes when they talk about something they love. They can't show you many things. Chemistry is not something you can screen for. It only exists in real life. And yet, we are spending hours, sometimes days, building an entire picture of someone before we've ever met them. We go in there with expectations already formed, and then the real person doesn't match the version we manage. We are disappointed, even if the real person actually is wonderful. I've been guilty on this. I've gone on dates where I've already written a story about who this person was, and then spent the whole evening mentally comparing them to a fictional version of themselves I've constructed only from 3 pictures and a caption. And that's not fair. And it's not how you find a real connection. Another thing I wanted to talk is the expectation problem. Let's talk about expectations. Because I think this is where the things actually get really complicated. Having standards is not the problem. I want to be clear about that. Knowing your worth, understanding what you want in a partner, refusing to settle for someone who treats you badly, that is not only fine, that is actually necessary. But I think somewhere along the way, for a lot of us, standards have quietly turned into something else. They turned into a checklist. And the checklist has gotten very long. The right height, the right job, the right salary, the right body, the right social life, the right ambition, the right sense of humor, the right relationship with the family, the right opinions about the right things, and carry on. And I'm not making fun of any of this. I understand where it comes from. We live in an age of self-improvement and self-worth. We're told constantly, you know your value, don't settle, you deserve the best. But here's the question nobody seems to ask. Are we looking for partners, or are we looking for a finished product? Because real people are not finished. Real people are works in progress. They have flaws and contradictions and baggage. They have had their bad days and annoying habits and fears they've never told anyone about. And the strongest actually relations I've ever seen up close, the ones that actually last, are not built on two perfect people finding each other. They actually built on two imperfect people choosing each other over and over and over again. There is also something else I think apps have done. They've flooded us with kind of highlight reel version of dating. Everyone's profile is the best photo with the most impressive achievement, but nobody's bio says, I get anxious at parties, or I'm still figuring out my career. So we are comparing full complicated, messy reality of ourselves to be curated, polished presentation of everyone else. And of course, we feel like everyone else has it more together. Of course, real people feel like a disappointment by comparison. It is an impossible standard, and it's one we've largely built ourselves. Well, another thing is, does getting older make dating harder? I want to make clear, and I want to take a moment to talk about something that I think about a lot, which is how dating changes as we get older. When you are young, there's a kind of openness to it all. You don't have much of track of record yet, so you are curious. You go on dates for the adventure of it. You give people chances because you haven't been burned enough times to be defensive. But experience changes you, and not always in the way you would hope. Every difficult relationship leaves a mark. Every person who let you down taught your nervous system to be a little bit more careful. Every time you trusted someone and it didn't work out, a small part of you built a wall. And that makes sense. That's your mind trying to protect you. But walls don't discriminate. They keep out the wrong people, yes, but they also keep the right ones out. And what point does wisdom become rigidity? And at what point does protecting yourself become closing yourself off? I don't think there is an easy answer to that. But I do think it's worth asking yourself honestly, am I applying my past experiences to someone who hasn't actually done anything wrong yet? Am I punishing someone new for something someone else did? Because if we are not careful, we carry out worst dating experience into every new relationship. And that's not protecting ourselves. That's just passing the wound on. I could just talk about apps here and what do they do, but obviously at the conclusion, more or less, I'm also going to tell what I have learned and what still gives me. Okay, I've been pretty honest about what's hard, but let me tell you what I actually believe after all this. I believe that genuine people still exist. I know that sounds obvious, but sometimes the cynicism that builds up around dating can make you forget it. Behind every profile is actually real human being with their own story, their own fears, their own longings to be understood, their own hope, but this time it might be different. I also believe that the apps are not the enemy. They are a tool. And like any tool, what matters is how you use them. The problem is not what they exist. The problem is that they are letting reshape how we see people. So, what does that look like in practice? A few things I have started to think about differently. First of all, apps make meet people sooner. Don't spend 2 weeks texting and building up a fantasy before you've sat across from each other. Meet for a coffee, even a short one. Real life tells you more in 30 minutes than a month of messages. And that is proven. Second, give people a real chance, not infinite chances, but at least one actual date before you decide. The person who seemed to be awkward over the text might be actually magnetic in person. The person whose photos aren't that impressive might have a warmth that hits you immediately. You won't know this until actually you will show up for that date. And the third one, The third one is the hardest one, to be honest. To be honest about what you actually want. They tell you not to think what you should want, not the checklist, not what you do actually need or feel safe or be loved or like yourself with another person. That question is worth sitting with, isn't it? Remember, love has never been about finding a perfect person. It's about finding someone imperfect who is willing to build something real with you. And maybe we need to extend the same grace to others that we won't extend to us, because we are all out here navigating this with the same fears, the same hope, and the same slightly awkward first message. So, dating apps. And that's what has been on my mind. Have dating apps changed what we expect from relationships? Honestly, I think yes. I think they've made it easier to meet people and harder to truly connect with them. I think they've raised our standards in some ways and quietly warped them in others. But I also think we have more agency in this than we give ourselves credit for. We can choose to slow down. We can choose to be more present. We can choose to see people as people, but not profiles. And we can choose to ask better questions of ourselves. Not just what do I want, but what kind of partner am I? This was my first ever episode. And honestly, thank you so much for being here. It means more than you know. I would generally love to hear your thoughts on this. Have dating apps helped you or made things harder? Have they changed what you expect from a relationship? Let me know. Drop a comment, send me a message, or leave a review if you are listening on a podcast app. It really does help more than you think. And if you know someone who would enjoy this conversation, share it with them. These are the kind of conversation we should be having more of. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself. Bye.